going on? Where's Stewie?
He's 34 feet southwest and approximately 5 feet.
I thought I would wear a house coat and then I'm going to get rid of it.
You know what? I'll take either or, and I'm all in on both. So, Lori, you get comfortable, you dig in, and I'm all in.
No, because I thought it's just a good joke because, it's the best outfit I got to wear, which was a house coat. So
listen, I'm wearing a hooded sweatshirt that's almost the same color, so we're almost like twins. So let's go from that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Go.
Yeah. So Lori, I have to ask you. Like, I'm so happy that you're on. First of all, thank you. Yeah. And secondly, are you a Canadian transplant?
Yes.
Wow. So I was dying to ask you this all day. So how do you go from being a Canadian transplant to a Kiwi? I think that's such a wonderful leap of faith, and I'm dying to hear every detail in the middle.
I came here in 1990. New Zealand was hosting the what are they called? The Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
So they had a big theater sports tournament, and our theater in Vancouver was a really big presence in the whole theater sports world, which is a kind of improvised theater where things are made up on the spot. So theater sports is more competitive, team on team. So they pitched it. Obviously, they had theater sports was very new in New Zealand, but they thought, what a great sport combo. It's arts. It's arts. It's sports. So they went, yes, bring people from the Commonwealth and anywhere else. And so I came representing Vancouver. And,
wow.
Yeah, so that was very groovy, and it was a lot of fun. And then there was a smaller group of us that got to do a tour of New Zealand, and in a van. And I did that, and then I got offered a job to start the theater sports company up in Wellington. So I thought, okay, why not? So I stayed on. And it was going to be sort of for 6 months. It was going to be a year. And then it's like 32 years later.
Wow. And you've been there pretty much full time since 1990?
Yeah.
Wow. You want to hear something funny? Lori, want to hear something funny? So I had a girlfriend, I want to say my freshman year of college. She went to England for, I want to say like a semester, came back with an accent. You've been there 32 years, and I know you're Canadian. Like, I feel like my girlfriend at this time was I was like, like one of us is not getting the big picture here, but I have to say, being the fact that you are a Canadian and the fact that you are now a Kiwi transplant is that it's the best of both worlds, because I feel like I've said this to all my Canadian guests. Canadian kindness is a real thing. People from Canada are sincerely kind. People from New Zealand, Australia are sincerely kind, and I feel like it's a real thing. So, like, you represent the best of both worlds, Lori.
Well, I try. Yeah, but I do. I claim very loudly and proudly that I'm also basically sort of a fake American, because that's part of why I got M3GAN. I do a lot of work in Power Rangers, the TV show that's filmed here. So, and I live with someone who is a Canadian but an American dialect coach, so for movies and TV. So sort of between us, we kind of keep each other still Canadianized, North Americanized, which is good for, it's good for getting parts, because a lot of Americans and Canadians like to come here and film things because, it's cheaper, great scenery.
Beautiful scenery.
The tax breaks.
Yeah. Lori, what was the toughest part about the move for you, right? So in 90, I'm not going to say homesick, because clearly now we look back. Yeah. But what was that's a tough thing, I feel like, to say, you know what, I'm going to go on the other side of the world. And I don't know, that seems like a big leap of faith to me.
Well, I had broken up from a long-term relationship. And theater in Vancouver we were basically the last downtown, Vancouver downtown, really downtown theater standing, basically. And that had just all fallen to custard because we were in a little funny building that had McDonald's on the corner, and they basically gave us cheap rent. The company that then built a huge car park on top, and that was the deal. You put in a theater, you can build yourself a huge car park, but you only have to have that obligation for a certain period of time. So we were in that theater about 10 years, and it was a really very good, it was a great theater. And as soon as that sort of caveat came off, they doubled the rent, and then they tripled the rent, and it became unsustainable. And then McDonald's snapped it up. So now there was a McDonald's there, and that was the last downtown. And now they do on Granville Island in Vancouver, they have a fantastic theater. But it was kind of like all those bridges were kind of burning behind me. And it was kind of like, well, and I also figured, no one had a mobile phone. No one had a laptop.
Yeah.
You sort of had your clunky computers. And I thought, well, I'm so far away, and I'd never been, because they said be our artistic director, and I'd never done that. And so I thought, well, I'm so far away, I'll give it a go. And if it falls to custard, I'll hightail it back to Canada and no one will know. So, and then because it was supposed to be for about a year and a half. And then the board said, you're just starting to come to terms with everything that's going on. It just seems stupid you should stay on longer. And I went, yeah, I think you're right. And there you go.
30 years later, you're doing pretty damn well for yourself, I would say.
Yeah.
So what kind of kid were you, Lori? What kind of kid were you? Artistic kid? Like, were you into movies? Were you into...
Oh, yeah. I was from a military family. My dad was
okay.
This is my joke. This is my homage to Megan with my house coat. But I'm taking it off because it's summer here in New Zealand. It's very hot.
Lori, it is -10 today in Massachusetts. So I wish I could take my sweatshirt off, but I cannot. No. I love the house coat too, Lori, by the way. I loved it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. It's like great costume. I get to sit around in my house coat and then do your thing.
The fact that you went the extra mile for me, Lori, I will go to bed tonight feeling so much happier. Thank you for that. That was very sweet. That was very sweet of you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I was really lucky that I had pretty adventurous parents, and we went over to Europe when my dad was in the Air Force, and
wow.
We traveled around with our little camper van thing, our camper, one of those Danish, it looks like a flat pack attached to the back of your car, and then you'd stop wherever you were gonna, and then
it pops up. Yeah.
So it was, like a Lego. So yeah, and did a lot of traveling, and it was like, look out the window, you'll never see this again. So we all had to look out the window, and yes. So yeah, I think very outdoorsy, very adventurous, very kind of active, and bit of a theater nerd going into high school, sort of, in all the productions, and we were sort of like this, I'm sure the obnoxious ones that sometimes were just, I think, probably too silly. But anyways, but it was a great gang. It's like, I sort of feel sorry for kids that don't have, if you can get the theater bug, it's like you have built-in friends, you have built-in relationships.
Well said.
You hang out, and then you can go to a theater summer camp, and they're all your best friends, and then you go to theater. People just tend to kind of, and it's always been live theater, not film or TV. So that's my whole background is live theater. So,
Lori, speaking of film and TV, is there and by the way, great answer. Speaking of film and TV, is there a show, a movie, an actor that really puts you in the next level where you were like, I mean, it sounds like you were bitten by more than just seeing a movie or seeing an actor, clearly, but if I had to add on to your theater love, what actor, what movie, what show could I put on top of it?
Oh God, well, I should have thought about that. I don't know. um, I kind of one of those people that kind of love everything.
Yeah.
I just saw The Fabelmans and went,
Oh, so good.
yeah, that was just that mother's performance was superlative. Just superb. Yeah, I just love all. I mean, there's a British series called Vera that I just sort of started watching again, and she's basically this old. She's the inspector. She's the head of the unit in this town in England, and she's just craggy, and she's kind of bad tempered, and she lives alone, but she's just got this mind, and the performance of it is just. She just sometimes looks like she's about to, when she's talking to people, she looks like she's going to cry in sympathy, and then she can just change it, and she's firm, and it's like, don't you muck around with me, and she just. I don't even know the name of the actress, but the whole show is called Vera, and it's just she's like a great old doll that wears a great big trench coat and a funny hat and drives a Land Rover, and I just kind of love those character parts where it's meaty.
Lori, I have to ask you a question. So as a SAG-AFTRA member, I have to ask you. So I had Judd Hirsch on a podcast a few months back, and he's been nominated for Best Supporting. He was on screen for, I want to say, 6.5 or 7.5 minutes. What does that say about him as an actor and people that voted for him? Does that mean that he made the most out of every single second on screen?
I would say. And he probably had good material, or because sometimes it's not just obviously it's not the word. Sometimes it's the look. It's the,
right.
It's whatever you bring to it. Because wasn't there a woman a few years back? She got nominated and she was like 3 minutes on the screen.
There's been a lot. There's just been more than people think that have spent like under 10 minutes and have been nominated. There's been a lot, Lori, for sure.
I'm kind of like, and I don't know, that makes me sort of go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's easier to make an impact with a couple of very beautiful moments, or is it more difficult to have those beautiful moments and then also be responsible for inserting plots and relationship, and like sometimes if your part is so small, you just don't get to have those things really, because it's such a small part. But there's obviously something that makes you go that. And I'm not even sure what the hell that is, but it's obviously something that talks to that person, talks to whoever is watching it. Because Lori, there are some times when you'll see people, like we have lots of auditions and for voices and things like that, and then sometimes you just hear it and just go, yep, everybody else go home, which don't do, but because the producers always make the decisions. But sometimes you just, I don't know, it's just an instantaneous weird thing, and I think it's like collectively, I don't know, sometimes I think we're all wired in a certain way that we're collectively, a lot of times we just go, oh, yes, and we all love whatever it is they're doing.
No, that's a great answer. It's a great answer. My next question is selfish. So I have a 2-year-old daughter I'm teaching to swim, and you mentioned, we were talking aqua aerobics. Talk to me about that part of your life, because I have to say, like, so we belong to the Y. It is immensely popular, and like being active and clearly you are fit and you obviously know what you're doing. Just talk about that part of your life. I just, like, when you mention that, I'm like, how freaking sweet and awesome is that? Like, I don't know, Lori, I love that. Like, you're clearly a wonderful actor. You're established. You know what you're doing. And when you mentioned that, like, I fell more in love with who you are as a person. Like, I was like, here's a human moment. Like, that's just great, Lori.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of the old dolls. They're sort of in the morning, and then there's more general population
Yes.
in the evening. And yeah, they're very funny. A lot of times I just and I know a lot of them they sort of come because they like the fact that they generally have a few laughs, because sometimes I'll be singing along, or sometimes people won't be paying attention and I'll say something about them, which sometimes isn't enormously complimentary, and they never pay any attention. Then finally someone else has to go, or because they famously all love to get together and talk. And that's a huge part of, that sociability of going into Aqua, especially with the old dolls. But they're so lovely. And it's like those guys talk about that's collective genius. It's like any question in the world you want to know, a handyman, a recipe, a life advice, blah, blah. You just put it out to the group and someone will have something to say about it, which I always find fantastic. That, they're just like, someone has an answer because they've all kind of done it. They're all in their 70s or 80s, and and a lot of them really thankfully have given up being shy or anything. They don't care. They're just gonna, say it like it is. So you can kind of ask anything, and someone will be like shouting at you, rah, rah, rah. And I just find their company just really lovely. And I do a lot of live improv shows, and I'm more and more doing it with just one or two people because it's easier to organize things that way. But I've been working with a gal, Penny Ashton, a lot, and she's the one she also produces the shows. Thank God, because I just don't want to do that. So God bless her. And she always goes, okay, what nights will the Aqua gals be coming? they're always like, when's your next show? And if it's early, if we can get a 6:30 show on, that's much better, because a lot of them don't like going out in the evenings.
Lori, how great would it be for an Aqua Gals show where people talk about what you just said? Like, I'm not going to say, like, when you win your Emmy, I want to thank you. So this would make a phenomenal show where somebody gives their advice. Oh my God, are you kidding me? The fact that I had to think of this, Lori, it would be such a great show.
Yeah, they're great. And I love it that, you get clean. You have to exercise yourself getting blood.
No, I love it. There's so many levels of why what you do is fantastic. So thank you for answering that. Lori, the other thing I want to ask you about was your you've been to a few Comic-Cons, I want to say, right?
Well, yes, but only one. But only one. A fantasy convention, which they call Magic Con, and FedCon, which is a sci-fi convention. They're both in Germany, both now taking place in Bonn, and I go and I MC, and it started we're talking 18 years ago.
Wow.
When I had my one-day part in Lord of the Rings. And these two guys who were from New Zealand, because it was obviously filmed, the first one was filmed in New Zealand. So they were having this Lord of the Rings convention. And they had this convention for 10 years. It was like, oh my God, how long can you have a bloody convention based on Lord of the Rings? Anyways, these two guys were actors in it, had parts much bigger than my own, and they were going and they did improv, and we were all part of the same company here in Auckland, and they did it for about 3 years, and they were they love this improv. We got to do a whole improv set in an hour. One of the sessions is always they called it the New Zealand panel, the Kiwi panel, and it was basically an improv show. And so they went, we can't be doing it. There's too few of us. So they asked the guy, and my partner kept on saying, he would just whenever they would complain, you should ask Lori. She was in the movie. Ask Lori. And they would ignore him. And then finally, one year, after about 3-4 years, they went, oh, that's a good idea. So they did. And the guy who runs it, Dirk, he's very cut and dried. He pays really promptly. But he is a man of few words. So he basically sent an email back saying, improv? Yes. So that was it. So then I became an actor and I made an appearance. And it's like I had the one day.
But you know what? Yeah, but your character is like a character that people remember. I mean, come on, Lori. That's a huge thing in an iconic movie.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't keep talking about it year after year, and so I was doing things like getting money from where the film was made on set on the site. I was getting from their local council. I was getting funding to make a tourist video. Extolling the virtues of coming to this place, not just to see the movie sets. And then I would show that at the Lord of the Rings convention. And then I went, oh my God, I have to do something else. So then I started making silly films about my character. So I would get dressed up and we would write these, myself and this other guy, Campbell. He had a new camera, wanted to try it out. So we became a little duo that we write these odd scripts, ask people who'd also been in Lord of the Rings, and we would make these little films, 20-minute videos with my character. And then I'd go to Lord of the Rings and I'd show it. And then I began to sell it. So I did that for years. And then they needed an MC, and he said, be the MC with another Mark Ferguson, another Kiwi. And then he needed an MC for the sci-fi one. And he said, be the MC for the sci-fi. So I went, okay. So, so twice a year I go to Germany, and then I visit my family in Canada, and I do this nutty gig.
Very cool. No, I think it's awesome. Let me ask you this. Your character in Lord of the Rings had many children. So tell the people listening who think they're Lord of the Rings fans who your character is.
Mrs. Bracegirdle.
Oh,
and
very
and
sweet.
I only know that because this is how luck was shining on me. The part was billed as a special skills extra, which means you get direction from the director. If you're an extra, you don't get direction from the director. The second AD, or third AD, or someone else will direct you, but special skills. So it's like in New Zealand, everyone and their dog went out and bought the book, went out and bought the Lord of the Rings. You couldn't get one for love. And everyone is like, yes, we all want parts. Well, there was like 4 women's parts in it. It was just like, there was like nothing. And so when they said, well, we'll give you this special skills extra part, it was like, yes, thank you. I'll have that. So in the scene though, what's his face? Bilbo said, oh, you've been very busy, Mrs. Bracegirdle. And because he said my name, according to union lore, that means I now was elevated to an actor's part.
Wow. Awesome.
So, and it's like, what? Didn't anyone kind of figure that out beforehand? But anyways, because someone said to me, they said, your name? Yeah. You better talk to your agent. Oh, okay. Agent, hello. Yes. So that meant I got a credit. And even though I was cut out of the first one, but it meant I got to go to the cast and crew screening.
Yeah. So that made a difference. That's a huge difference, Lori, right?
Huge. And I'm sure they, and I got a nice big coffee table book that said, and a letter from the producer saying, sorry, we've cut you out, but you'll probably be in the director's cut. Which I was.
And you are, yes, so, and you are.
And a lot of the fans believe that's the definitive one, anyways. So,
yeah, you are such a wonderful actor. Let's talk about M3GAN. Would you like to, what? So for people that haven't seen M3GAN, which I feel is not many, because I feel like it's one of the most popular movies on the planet. How would you describe Celia to people that have not met her yet?
The grumpy, nosy, most likely lonely neighbor.
Yeah.
Probably has a few drinks at night. I think, and who obviously can't let things go, because they said to me she's a bit of a hoarder, and they tried to sort of make the place that I was working in a bit messy, and which you can't really see that. I love how all those people that decorate the sets, you'd have to like go back frame by frame to see all the beautiful stuff the detailed stuff they do. But there was old bikes, and there was a baby carriage, and there was crap around, but you never really saw that. But
you were Lori, you were awesome. I want to say that you were so good. Like, I was watching the movie, I'm like, I have to talk to this woman. Like, I was just so blown away. It was just, you set up so many things, right? You set up how I think terrible M3GAN is, and you set up so many other things. The other thing that Celia is a shitty dog owner, right? Poor Dewey. Like, M3GAN's a murderer, but like, poor Dewey. Like, I feel so bad for that poor animal.
I know. A dog hut.
Lori, I am a 50-year-old man. And I knew it was a movie. I knew I was there. I knew it wasn't happening, and I still was feeling bad for that animal. What does that say about me, Lori?
It says that you're a good person.
Oh, Lori, you're too sweet. Thank you for that.
And you're a good person who, wouldn't have your dog outside in a dog house, dog would be inside. Dog be on the bed. That's where my dog would be.
Lori, do you like the horror thriller genre? Is that something that you were comfortable with, that you're good with? How I mean, you're clearly a theatrical trained actor. You know what you're doing. You're leaps and bounds. Your ability is wonderful. This kind of genre, how are you feeling about that?
I never go to horror films. I'd probably, if I wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't have gone to see it, or I might have gone to see it because there's other Kiwi actors in it.
Yes, yeah, gotcha.
But I generally, I'm one of those people at the movie theater that just kind of, and just jump and shout and involuntarily from fear.
This is one of the most unique casts I've ever seen, Laura. You have somebody like you with a theatrical background. Allison Williams is self-explanatory. Ronnie Chang is one of the best stand-up comics on the planet. Like, it is such a unique cast, but the funny thing is, at the end of this movie, it all works so well. Like, it's like whoever did the casting for this, I get the James Wans and the Jason Blums of the world. I get that. They're producers. But whoever did the specific casting knew what the hell they were doing. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I think I really lucked out, too, because I went and COVID was still sort of going on. So they were asking people to do their own submissions for audition tapes. And it's like, yeah, whatever. So, and my agent offered a thing where you can just come in and they put you down on tape, and someone would be there to be your reader, and they'd put your name on the title, and it'd all be, so it was like, so I did that. And then Jared wanted to see me again. And I don't know whoever else, but it was all kind of like they weren't really having callbacks, and it was all a bit. And Michael, and he was talking to my agent, and Michael Sisente, who plays the rich guy in the film, who has to drink and says, "Get her a new contract." He's the guy who generally puts people down on the tape, and he's great.
Wow.
So I've known him for years and years, and he sort of shouted out. He was there that day, and he shouted out, "He should just come here, and you can come in a separate door. We can keep it open." So he went, "Yes, I'll do that." So he ran my callback, which then went to the producers. And of course, they have to go tick, 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 tick. So I think it was the fact that he was there and he was directing me to do what he really wanted to see. So the tape that then went off to the States for people to look at was kind of, he directed it. So he was there in person doing that. So that was that was primo. So yeah, I think that was a huge, and I don't know if he actually did that with any other actor.
Yeah, I'm a karma guy, and I have a great feeling that you deserve this through everything you've done in your career and your life. You've deserved and earned this part, Lori. So, and I have to tell you another big thing they could have done, but they didn't, and it probably saved them millions. Was your death in the movie? Spoiler alert! It is an iconic scene. It's an iconic death, but they could have made it rated R. If they and it would have gotten more laughs and it would have gotten more people over the top, but by making it PG-13, you literally save yourself millions of dollars by doing that, right?
Yeah. Well, the R-rated one is going to come out.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I don't think that's a secret. That's not a secret. I'm not.
No. It usually happens the director's cut or the rated R cut. Yeah. But yeah.
That one will have some good. That will have some prosthetic-y stuff.
Oh, because I'm going to say for PG-13, I felt like they were pushing the envelope. The fact that, but I got to say, it was like when I was in the theater, and this, I want to say I didn't go like opening weekend. I went like 3 or 4 weeks after. The theater was packed, and I want to say this was like the first it was a matinee on a I want to say a Thursday or a Friday. It was Lori. It was packed. It was like people were. I mean, I'm telling you, this movie was like. There's something about it that people just love. They love the dark comedy. They love the horror. Yeah. They love the wonderful cast. But I have to say, it's just you did such a wonderful thing. Have you ever had a neighbor like Celia in your life?
No.
Or known somebody like her?
Well, there are a couple of old dolls that I know that are a bit persnickety that I thought, they have that just, I mean, really in a way, kind of a horrible, the kind of neighbor that you really don't want to live next to because they're just kind of lazy and they don't really care.
Lori, I have one of those between you and I. Lori, I have one of those. I have one of those neighbors. Yeah, we won't say it
on your head.
Yeah, but everything you're saying is resonating true right now.
Yeah, no, I've only had really good neighbors. Really good neighbors.
Yeah.
Someone's house alarm goes off. They get out of their house and they walk down the road and go, false alarm or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a couple of old dolls that I know that have been that kind of rude, which has always shocked me.
Yeah.
Like,
Lori, and I get it's the extremes, right? I get that part of it, but like, I have a 2-year-old. I have one on the way. Like the idea that like, hey, you want to let technology raise your kid? I'm not saying this could happen, but it's like you want to be a substitute parent. Here you go. Right?
Well,
it does put that out there for you, right, Lori?
It's totally. I mean, so many times I'd see people in restaurants, and I've even said to my friends, "Your phone is, put your phone. What are you doing? Get off your phone." It's just like, what are you doing? And I've seen families no one's talking to one another.
Yeah,
damn phone. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Lori, I hope Mike, because I grew up, I was born in 73 and I raised in the 70s and the 80s. I hope, like, the memories I have of my dad and my mom, like, I cherish and I love. I hope my daughter and my son, like, I hope they remember me for, like, being a good person, not somebody they saw on a phone or a text message or a, like this movie sneakily kind of throws that at you, like, hey, here you go. Like, yeah, I get the horror, I get the thriller, I get the dark humor, but, like, it brings some serious things like to the forefront, like, right, Lori?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm amazed, it's like people are going to a mall for entertainment and you just go, and that's how old fashioned farty darty I am. It's just like, what? You go to a mall to shop. You just don't, I just find that, and that's the teenagers, they're going to a mall and it's like, well, it would be so bizarre, and I'd probably be such a real stick in the mud to go to an art gallery or, But I mean, on the other hand, you know, you've got to have these places that are free or close to being free for people to go in to kind of, because I think once people go to an art gallery, once they go to a museum, then they're like totally fascinated. It's exciting. That's when it's like, wow, this is really cool. But you kind of got to get them there and get them out of the mall, or you know.
And it's characters like yours that really set up the movie M3GAN. Like when I was there, I'm like, this character Celia really sets up this movie, and that's a kudos to your acting chops, Lori, for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice to be able to have something. Most of what I've always pretty much done is like the day player. They go and take your food order. They say I generally get the sort of like, yeah, what's your problem, kind of, which I think I'm always channeling my mother when I do that. But that's generally, those are the parts, and then it's like you're done. So it was actually. It was kind of like a blessing, to have something that was just really meaty. Like yeah.
Lori, thank you for this time. Few more questions. Speaking of kid actors, Amy Donald, phenomenal. Like if people go on YouTube, and I'm sure the DVD or Blu-ray or the internet version of this movie, when people buy it, will have it. But Amy Donald as M3GAN is, oh my God, the copy machine, her dancing scenes, gets out. Wow.
Yeah. Because I remember the two of us were we formed a little mini bond, because we had to go to the office and sign some stuff and pick some stuff up. And she went there. It was like first day at school. And she was there with her mom, and she hadn't done a lot of this sort of stuff. And I was having a lovely chat with her mom, had a really nice chat with her. And she just come back from Australia. I think she was at like a international dance competition that she'd won. And, but she was just so sweet. And we just like, nattered. And then I saw her like 3 weeks after that on set. And it was like, you know, hi, how are you? And she was, you know, just a nice little gal that is clearly, I think, well, there you go. There's that bloody discipline of dancing. She's just, you know, she just kind of worked stuff. And she also worked with a friend of mine who was also in Lord of the Rings, Jed Brophy. And he does a lot of movement stuff, a lot of movement capture stuff.
Yeah.
And he worked with her on a lot of like the dog thing, and that running like a dog and all that kind of weird movement stuff. So that was a treat to see him. What are you doing here? I don't know. I'm the movement guy. So and then when I saw her at the cast and crew screening, she just, you know, came and give me a big hug, and, you know, and she'd been to the premiere and they had a dress made, and she was just, she was having the time of her life.
Yeah. You know, there's people on Reddit that blame the dog for being the aggressor more than they do M3GAN. That's where this movie's at. People are arguing who's the aggressor, Dewey or M3GAN. That's where we're at now, Lori. Like I'm like, what? Like what? Poor Dewey.
Yeah, Lori, he's just a dog.
Lori, I want you to know that
and I'm going to tell you too that dog Dewey is one of those dogs that was taken from a pound and then trained. And then he lives with a family, but whenever they need the dog for some, like an ad or whatever, a movie or whatever, then they come and they get him and they train him up again, and then he does his performance. It's a company that is in New Zealand that's what they sort of do. They have all these dogs or different animals around New Zealand. They live with families, but then they get seconded back. And they all have like a skill or something.
Oh, Lori, you made my night. Like there's a movie that came out on Apple TV last year with Tom Hanks called Finch. That dog was a rescue too. Oh my God, I'm getting all the feels right now. That is how cool is that?
Yeah. So cool.
Oh my God. I have to say, last thing, Lori, is yesterday I interviewed a cinematographer named John Seal, who's from Australia. Who would have guessed? Australia one day, New Zealand the next. You know, he did the cinematography for Rain Man, Dead Poets Society. Today I get to talk to the wonderful actor from M3GAN and all these other wonderful projects, Power Rangers. And Lori, I am so grateful. I am so thankful. And I hope one day you come back, because you are a wonderful actor. And I am so blessed to be able to see your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's lovely to have a chat, and keep warm.
Yes. And thank you for that. House coat was awesome. Thank you for that. That was very sweet of you. You are a very cool person, Lori.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Derek.